All right, today's lesson is on combining like terms, and then we're also going to multiply some stuff. So I'm on notes for day 3. Check your packet. I'm going to go through example 1 pretty quickly here. I just want to define what like terms actually mean. It means they have the same variables, and variables are just a fancy word for saying like letters. So these both have x terms. So yes, they are the same because they both are x terms. It's like 4 apples and 10 apples. The x's refer to the apples in this case. So the next one, 3xy and negative 6xy, those both have xy's in them. So yes, they are the same. This one is x squared y to the third. This one is x to the third y squared. Those are different. This is like an apple and this is like an orange. So those are not like terms. Same thing here. This is xy and this is only x. Those are different. Here we have x to the 5th y squared, x to the 5th y squared. Yes, those are the same. So that's what we mean when we're talking about like terms. And yes, you're allowed to combine them. So I'm going to go through a couple different examples here. Again, if I go too fast, pause the video, finish copying down, rewind if you need to. I'm going to go through some of these examples. The first step that we're going to do is we're going to identify if any terms are the same. So if I look right here at example 3, here's an x squared. Those are different, but here's another x. So this and this happen to be the same. And I like to use highlighters when I'm kind of talking about like terms. And I'm noticing that I have another pair of like terms. This is x squared and this is another x squared. So those are the same. And I also have some just whole numbers, 11 and 3. Those are obviously like terms, so I can combine those to make 14. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to just combine them. I'm going to have my 11x and negative x. So if I have 11 of something and I take away 1, that means that I have 10 of those things, which happen to be x's, left. So again, that's just what happens when I combine my 11x and my negative x. Now I'm going to do my x squared. So I have 1x squared. Remember, if there's no coefficient or number in front, it's just a 1. So I've got 1x squared here and negative 9x squared. So when I take positive 1, negative 9, that leaves me with negative 8x squared. And those are my x squared terms. And then again, I'm just going to combine my whole numbers here. Positive 11 and positive 3 makes positive 14. And I'm just going to do a quick check. X is different from x squared, and this is just a whole number. So I am finished because there's nothing else that I can combine. Let's try number 5. So I see an a term, and I see another a term way down here. So I can combine those together. Looking for what else is like. I have an a squared. And I have another a squared, so I can combine those. And then here's just a whole number. That can't be combined with anything, so my answer is going to have just a positive 9 in it. So first I'm going to combine my a terms. 11 and 113, what does that make? 124a. Those stay green, if you will. You don't have to use highlighters, it just helps me kind of visualize. Now I'm going to combine my 43 and my negative 12. So 43 minus 12 makes positive 31 a squared. And again, those are my a squared terms. And the only thing I have left is 9. So I'm going to leave this positive 9 here at the end. And I'm going to do a quick scan. This is an a, this is an a squared, and this is a whole number. So I am finished. There's nothing else that I can combine together. Multiplying, what we're going to do is distribute. Here's kind of our technical step-by-step instructions that we're going to follow, but I'm going to multiply coefficients. Be careful with signs, so that especially means like negative signs. Be careful distributing minuses. When you multiply variables, you add the exponent. So notice how here we're multiplying. Up on this page up here, we were adding and subtracting. We were not multiplying. So that's a big difference between here, this page, and the previous page. And when we multiply the variables, that means we add the exponents. I'll talk about that when I do an example. And then combine like terms exactly like we did on this page up here. So let's try and do example number 7. What this means is I'm going to take my 4x squared, and notice these parentheses right here. I am going to distribute the 4x squared to this, and to this by multiplying. And so how I do that is I take the 4 and the 3 and I multiply those together and get 12. And then I'm going to take the x squared and the x to the 5th. And up here I did say when we multiply variables, that means you add the exponents. So I'm taking my x squared and I'm multiplying it by x to the fifth, what that means is x squared is x times x, right? And when I multiply it by 5 more x's, you can just count how many there are total. You're just adding 2 and 5. That means there's 7 altogether. And that's what happens when I take this term times this term. Now I'm going to keep this plus sign here. This plus sign right here just stays, and I'm going to distribute the 4x squared to now the 6x to the third. I already did this one. When I multiplied these two together, I got this, so now I'm doing the second term. And again, I'm going to take my 4 times my 6, which is 24. And I have another x to the second, or x squared, times x to the third. And that means I have x to the, I'm going to add the 2 x's to the 3 more, which makes 5. And now the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to keep this negative sign. I'm going to write that next. And I'm distributing my 4x squared to my negative 8x. So that negative sign is here. And I'm going to do 4 times 8, which is 32. And I'm taking my x squared times my x. So this is 2 x's, and I'm multiplying by 1 more. That makes 3. So x to the third. And now a quick scan. I have x to the 7th, x to the 5th, and x to the 3rd. None of those are the same, so I cannot combine them anymore. So this is my final answer. Let's try this one. You've probably heard from Algebra 1 before, FOIL. That means that we take the first term times the first term, and we take the, that's what the F stands for. The O stands for outside, so the outside of this and the outside of this, those are considered like the outsides of this binomial times another binomial. The I stands for inside, that's this term and this term, and the L stands for last, which is this term and this term. So I'm going to first do the F, which is 5x squared times x. Remember, there's just a 1 here, you can imagine. So 5 times 1 is 5. X squared times another x, you add those exponents, which makes x to the third. And that's what happens when I do my F, my first term. So now I'm doing my outside ones, 5x squared times 3. And this is positive and this is positive, so I'm just going to keep a plus sign there. 5 times 3 is 15. And there's no other x squareds to multiply this by, so it just stays x squared. Next I'm going to do inside, which is positive 7 times x, which just makes positive 7x. And then I'm going to do last, which is 7 times 3, which is 21, and they're both positive, so it stays positive. Quick scan, this is x to the third, this is x squared, this is x, and this is 21. There's nothing else there that I can combine, so I'm finished. I'm going to try one more example, and then we'll be finished. I'm going to do this, distribute to here, here, and here. Notice those parentheses, this and here. And this doesn't have parentheses around it, so I'm just going to recopy it after I deal with this, and then we'll combine like terms if we can. So 5x squared times another x is 5x to the third. Remember, you're just doing 5 times 1, which is right there, and 5 times 1 is 5, and x squared times another x makes 3 altogether. Keep the plus sign, and now I'm doing 5x squared times 2 more x's, which is just 5x to the fourth. There's x squared here and x squared here. Remember, you add those exponents. And I'm going to take 5x squared times negative 10. Positive 5 times negative 10 is a negative 50. And there aren't any x's to multiply here, so this x squared just stays. Now I'm going to recopy everything else that was right here, so negative 9x to the third plus x to the fourth plus 9. Now all I have to do is kind of scan through and see if I can find any like terms. I see an x to the third and another x to the third. I can combine those. And I see an x to the fourth and another x to the fourth. I don't have any other x squareds, and I don't have any other whole numbers. So I'm just going to combine my x to the thirds first. Positive 5 times negative, or plus negative 9. 5 minus 9 is negative 4. Keep the x to the thirds the same. Remember, this is what we did on the first page when we just combined like terms. And now I have a positive 5x to the fourth and another x to the fourth, so that makes 6x to the fourth. And I can't do anything with this, so I'm just going to copy it into my answer, negative 50x squared. and I can't do anything with this, copy that into my answer, which is positive 9. Quick scan one more time. X to the third is different from x to the fourth, which is different from x squared and different from a whole number. So this is our final answer. Let's keep working on some more during class, you guys.